Alright, when we're solving linear inequalities, we treat them as inequality, which means we treat it as an equal sign. So we can ignore the inequality symbol, which in this case is greater than or equal to for now, but when we need to graph it, that's when it comes into play. Also, there's going to be a rule about flipping the inequality that will happen in the next video. Okay, so if that were an equal sign, we need to figure out how to move that 6 across. Well, it's minus 6, so in order to undo subtract 6, you're going to add 6 to both sides. Okay, the 6's cancel. You're left with x on the left greater than or equal to 10 on the right. And now we need to figure out how to graph this. Well, you can look at your charts from your notes, but the first thing you do is find where 10 is. So I'm just going to randomly label that 9, that 10, and that 11. So 10 is right here. Since that's greater than or equal to, I'm going to color in the dot. If it's just greater than, I would leave that an open dot. And then I'm going to shade to the right because that is greater than. So greater than or equal to is a closed dot shaded to the right. Now this problem is very similar, but we need to have the variable starts out on the right. So at the end, we'll need to mirror it. But for right now, we need to isolate that t. So I need to move the 12. The 12 is technically being added to the t, so I'm going to subtract 12 on both sides. Okay, so on the right side, the 12's cancel. On the left side, I'm going to have negative 2 minus 12 is negative 14, less than or equal to t. But now I need to mirror this whole thing. So think back to elementary school where they said that the alligator was eating the bigger number. Technically here, t is the bigger number between t and negative 14. But think about it this way, the alligator right now is eating the t. When you flip it, so if the t is on the left side and the negative 14 is on the right side, the alligator still needs to be eating the t. So it's going to become t is greater than or equal to negative 14. So I need to find negative 14. So I'm going to go negative 15 here, negative 14 here, negative 13 here. It's greater than or equal to, so it's going to be a colored in dot because it's or equal to, and since it's greater than, I'm going to shade to the right. Okay, so this problem is very similar. You need to isolate the s, so the first thing you're going to do is you are going to subtract 8 on both sides. The 8 will cancel out, so you'll be left with s is greater than negative 6. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. So I need to find my negative 6. So I'm going to go negative 7, go negative 6, negative 5, and then this is a greater than, so it's a little bit different than the last one. The last one I had it colored in. This is just greater than, so I'm going to have an open dot, open circle at negative 6, and I'm still going to shade to the right because it's greater than. Alright, for this problem, I have r being divided by 3. So in order to undo division by 3, I'm going to need to multiply both sides by 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. Those 3's cancel out. So I'm going to have r is less than 21. Okay, so I need to find 21 on my number line, so I need to construct a number line. So I'm going to have 20, 21, 22. And I'm going to find 21 is less than, so it's going to be an open circle. This is less than. And it's less than, so I'm going to shade to the left. Alright, there's a couple of tricky problems here. First step is you need to get rid of that 4. 4 is being multiplied with x, so you need to divide each side by 4. So on the right side, the 4's cancel. You're left with just a x. Now, negative 3 cannot be divided evenly by 4, so you're going to keep that as the fraction, negative 3/4. Now I want to mirror this. Okay, so if I have x on the left and negative 3/4 on the right, I need to figure out which way to open up that sign. Well, using the negative 3/4, so it needs to as well here. So if x is less than negative 3/4. So you need to figure out where on the number line negative 3/4 is. Okay, so I'm going to have 0 here, 1 here, negative 1 here. Negative 3/4 is between negative 1 and 0, but it's closer to negative 1. It's 3/4 of the way to negative 1. So I'm going to mark that on my graph. It's an open dot because it's not or equal to. So it's going to be right there. It's a little bit closer to negative 1 than 0. And then I'm going to shade to the left because it's less than. There you go. Alright, so this problem's a little bit tricky, but it gives you the hint on the right. It says to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So we're going to undo 2/5 times f. Well, let's think about it. 2/5 times f. You could, if you wanted to, you could divide both sides by 2/5. Okay, but we don't like to divide fractions. Dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying it by the reciprocal. So I need to multiply both sides by 5/2 instead. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 5/2. Okay, on the left, the 5's and the 2's cancel, and you're left with just an f. Less than or equal to. Okay, negative 12 times 5/2. You could multiply that across, and that would be negative 60 divided by 2. Well, negative 60 divided by 2 is negative 30. You could do it that way. Another way you could do it is to cross simplify. So you could say, well, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into negative 12, negative 6 times. And negative 6 times 5 is negative 30. So depending on your fraction skills, either way will work just fine. And then I'm going to want to label my graph. So I'm going to have negative 31, negative 30, negative 29. I want negative 30 with a solid colored in dot, and it's less than or equal to, so I'm going to go to the left.